I'll share this on my personal too. All right. What's up, Eric?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you doing?
Doing great.
Good. I think we are live on Facebook, so I'm going to share this on my personal and see what's up. What are you wearing pants?
I am actually. I've got slippers on, but pants are there.
Nice. Give me one second. I'll share this live here.
We have a whole group of content creators that have been doing this sort of user-generated content for us. And every single one of them, as they stand up to turn off their computer recording, you can tell that they're in their pajama bottoms. It's nice.
Nice. Well, what are we drinking over there? What do you got? It's Friday at 3 o'clock. Happy hour time, right?
Yeah, I got some yellow beer.
Nice. What brand there?
You know what brand. We don't need to plug them.
Yeah. All right. So cool. Well, welcome. Hello, everybody. I don't know if we have any audience yet. There's a couple people coming in here. So appreciate everybody that's joining on the live feed. I'm Ryan. This is Eric Keith with Space Mob. So just real quick intro for people that aren't aware of who you are, Eric, which I don't know how that's possible, but give us a quick intro.
Well, I'll just say, look me up on IMDb. That'll.
Oh, yeah, dude, that is like mic drop. How much is it going to cost me to get a credit somewhere so I can get an IMDb page? That's what I want.
You got to work that in. I don't know. Yeah. Distribute this across the OTT network, and we can credit ourselves.
Yeah, we need to make that happen. That's a bucket list for me.
So I'm Eric Keith. I'm the president of Space Mob Studio, which is the studio arm of Answer Media. We started our group about 4 years ago with the idea of helping big web publishers create editorial content, branded content. We worked with groups like Dow Jones, the Wall Street Journal, Match.com, those types of groups. And I was excited about it because I've been a filmmaker my whole life.
Yeah.
Made 10 feature films in the last 10 or 12 years, and a handful of shorts and thousands of short form videos for publishers and brands. And we made a lot of video.
Nice, man. What kind of films are you working on right now? Anything you can talk about?
Yeah, so I've got a documentary that we've been making for the last 13 years. And it sounds ludicrous, right? Like that you would spend that much time working on a project.
Must be really good.
We spent 10 years following the lives of 20 girls in Kansas City and 20 girls in St. Joseph, Missouri, and just observed their lives and learned what it was like to, sort of be a girl in those communities. And
wow.
It's heart-wrenching. There's a lot of hope in it. There's a lot of despair in it, a lot of methamphetamine addiction, and a lot of drama. But it'll be released this year. We will have a 2.5 hour cut of the movie on April 29th. So we're excited about that.
Wow. So you've been filming this for 13 years, so you've gotten to watch these girls grow up, right?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds grander than it is, but yeah, we spent about $650,000 on this documentary over that time, and we've filmed them at three different years. We went back and filmed for, say, 4 to 6 weeks at a time. Wow. So we got little pockets of their lives.
Wow. Well, you'll have to update us when that's out. So awesome. Well, we're here today to talk about kind of a follow-up to our discussion from from last week, and this is going to be, we're going to plan on doing this a lot with different people, in our sort of sphere of influence and experts around CTV and OTT and getting content made and that kind of thing. And today I want to do kind of a deep dive with you into this concept of recreating or repurposing content for CTV and OTT. And for those maybe not familiar, just a quick intro. CTV OTT is kind of the technology platforms like Roku and Amazon Fire and Android and Apple TV. OTT stands for over the top. Streaming content through those platforms. It's growing like crazy. We won't get too deep into the stats, but as a medium and an advertising platform and a way to build a brand and syndicate creative content, it's growing really fast. And obviously your team is right in the middle of it. And one of the biggest objections, that we hear, and I'm sure you hear it a lot as well, it's a lot of work. I don't understand technology. I don't have the time. I don't want to take the time to figure it out. And we feel, that one of the ways to, address that, obviously, if you're already creating content, the leap from, say, something like YouTube to a connected TV strategy is maybe not as big as someone thinks, and that's what you guys do. So, talk about YouTube and maybe a couple of examples of maybe why someone would want to repurpose their content from YouTube to CTV and how to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, one sort of point of clarification is, I often, compare YouTube to OTT, but really YouTube is part of OTT. It's, it's an app-based service. The biggest difference is when we talk about OTT and CTV as Space Mob and Answer Media, we're really saying, the opportunity to syndicate out your content beyond YouTube. So I just want to make it clear that we understand that YouTube is part of that ecosystem. It's just its kind of own thing within that world. So the biggest challenges that I've heard, are one, people just don't know about it. People don't know how to get on Roku or how to get on Apple TV without going through a film distribution company or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
The second obstacle that I hear is, hey, I have a successful YouTube series going. How do I do this without pirating my users from my existing YouTube accounts? Obviously the revenue, and I'm sure we'll talk more about this later, but the revenue within the sort of CTV ecosystem that we're talking about in syndication, the CPMs are higher. If you could activate your user base, let's say you've got 100,000 users on YouTube, if you could get them to go watch it on the Roku or on Apple TV, the money would be better. So but those are some of the hurdles that I hear people mention. I think the biggest thing is that a lot of people don't realize the opportunity is even there yet. So I find that interesting.
What about if my content, like that like it's not formatted correctly, right? Like if I'm I can't even think of a good example, but if my content doesn't fit right for episodic, how do you guys navigate through that process?
Yeah, I mean, there is this sort of unspoken requirement of the various devices within the CTV realm that say, hey, you've got to be at least 12 minutes. They'd rather have 22-minute episodes. How do I format it to kind of do that if I've been doing 3-minute episodes on YouTube or 6-minute episodes or whatever? Our company does that. So like anybody that we partner with, if you do a deal with us, we're going to retrofit your content to be packaged properly for those channels. It may be combining a couple of your episodes or even cutting one of your episodes in half. whatever the right strategy is to kind of maximize the profitability in the ad pods without
Yeah.
hurting the creative concept. I mean, that's an important part of it. So we, some things you just can't break up because it's
Yeah.
good to mess with, but there are natural breaks in most content where it would make sense to say, okay, like we can do a second act or a second part.
Yep. Cool. Interesting. Well, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot to name anybody by name, but I mean, can you talk through some examples or, success stories of types of partners that you've helped make that leap, and what what that creative process looked like to get it from YouTube to CTV, how long it took, and what that journey looks like for a creator?
Yeah, so I mean, one category that's really interesting to me, I've always been interested in short films. Some people hate them, some people love them. I'm a fan. I like just the short, the short form way of telling a narrative story, or even a short doc.
So, dumb question for you here:
Yeah.
what constitutes a short film? Like how long? 10 minutes, 5 minutes?
I mean, I think the technical definition is anywhere under 55 minutes. But when I'm talking about them, I'm generally talking about things in the 5 to 20-minute range.
Yeah, that's more along the lines of what I was thinking.
Yeah, most of them fall in the sort of 6, 7, 8-minute range, but there's obvious ones that are a lot longer. But to be a feature for like a major Hollywood distributor, it's got is it 69 minutes or 59 minutes, somewhere in there. I'm sorry, I don't know, but it's it's shorter than I would have thought, but also longer than that's a long short film at 58 minutes, right?
Yeah. Interesting. So another dumb question, like as short filmmaker, what if I had a channel that was all about short films on YouTube, could I take, would each film be an episode, or would you cut them up? How does that look?
So we've made the sort of strategic choice for now to let each piece of content stand alone and not sort of weave them into episodes or series, like collections, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's largely because we're not really we're doing a free license deal, so it's really about reach. And that's why I was saying the short film thing is interesting, because as a short film maker, and we've made several, you take them to the festivals and the awards, the competitions, and you get acknowledgement or you don't, and then beyond that, there just hasn't been much to do. And we even had the experience where we had a sales agent like charge us, this is early in our careers, but charge us $500 to go take it digital and put it wherever they possibly could on digital platforms. So similar, like it was sort of an early version of maybe kind of what we're doing now, except for we don't charge. We're basically helping short filmmakers promote their movies to as big of an audience as humanly possible. With the analytics kind of being what they are, and the films being so short, if we started putting them in collections, it would get very complicated to sort of break out whose film made what amount of money. Just in the current Roku system. So we've kind of just taken that out of it and said, hey, we're going to promote short films. And we've got, about 100 lined up, a couple partnerships with some different film festivals. And so we're going to have a lot of short films coming through our system, and
Nice.
Hopefully a channel and that sort of thing in the future.
So you guys you say you don't charge. So I mean, how does that work? You guys don't charge as a filmmaker, as the content creator. What's like a typical deal structure look like?
It's literally just a free license. The filmmakers granting us the right to distribute their content on a non-exclusive basis, wherever we can get it that would make sense, right? I mean, legally we could take it anywhere, but we're only going to put it somewhere where the content would make sense for independent film or short film or that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Interesting. Seems like a nice deal. So, okay, what about, do you ever have to flat out rewrite a film or add to it or edit in a big way, or are most of the time they're kind of plug and play?
So we have another company that Answer Media owns, a significant part of, called Capstone Entertainment Group, that does independent feature films.
Yep.
And on the feature film front, we either help raise money to make the movie, or physically produce the movie, like we are the girl documentary that I was talking about being in post-production, or we help with distribution. So it's been kind of independent films, feature films. It's been a real nightmare lately, basically since 2008, for the smaller films to make any money. So you get super excited, you get a distribution company to like your movie, you sign a deal with them that basically says, hey, between $25,000 and $50,000 worth of expenses are going to come off the top before you ever see your rev share. And then the rev share is 70-30 essentially, 70% to the filmmaker, 30% to the distribution company.
Interesting.
So we've helped films like rework themselves to get that type of deal. But it's been a little disappointing over the years. And we had a conversation last night with another filmmaker who's having this same experience. He's produced a handful of films. None of them they end up seeing any money from, even though they're generating some revenue. So all of this to say, thank goodness there's this OTT opportunity. We had one of our films come available yesterday, for example. It's a comedy. It got pushed through the sort of traditional film distribution channels. It was on Amazon Prime. It was, did Hulu and Vudu, and was sold in Walmart stores and sold in Best Buy stores. And it got a little bit of buzz, but we never saw any money from it. So now the filmmakers got with me yesterday and said, hey, let's take this out. Let's put it through the Answer Media partner network for the OTT CTV space, and see if we can generate some sort of ancillary revenue from that.
Nice. Interesting. What about other types of, so we got short film makers. What about other types of, specifically people that are on YouTube crushing it, right? Like what other people fit into the categories that would make sense for you to move from YouTube to other OTT channels?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's sort of two schools that I think of automatically. There's the groups that are, like you said, crushing it on YouTube, and then there's the groups that are trying to do something on YouTube and not having any success for one reason or another. And then there's probably a lot of people that fall in between.
Yeah.
I mean, our deal is non-exclusive. There's no reason why you wouldn't want additional revenue streams, I wouldn't think. Yeah. It is a little harder to get a big time YouTube series to want to risk, their current revenue stream. But it's, we are having those conversations and kind of expect more of them to move over.
So take me through like an example, and maybe we'll see if we can't get one of these guys on the phone, because I think this would be amazing. You tell me if it's a good fit. But like, my kids love Dude Perfect, right? Which is, Dude Perfect is this, for anybody in the audience maybe that's not familiar, it doesn't have 12 and 13-year-old boys, but Dude Perfect is this group of 4 or 5 guys down in I think Dallas or Austin, one of the two, and they have this massive audience on YouTube, and they do things like trick shots, and they just weird shit, stuff that they, in this warehouse, they'll do trick shots and race, go-karts and all kinds of fun stuff, and it is absolutely hilarious. I mean, it's really, really funny. And my kids will sit there and watch this stuff and just over and over on YouTube. I think they have over 1 million subscribers. They've built a whole brand. They, last summer, they sold out the Silverstone Eye Center here, maybe 15,000 people, and did like a live show. We went and it was amazing. So somebody like that, could they take their show and their content is in the form of like 2 to 3 minute little clips of them, throwing a ping pong ball off of a wall and then under 2 other things and it goes in. Is that something that could be moved from YouTube to another OTT channel? And then I have a follow-up question after that.
It definitely could. So we ran into a similar situation with a new partner of ours called Big Honkin', which is a sketch comedy group, and they have sketches that are 2 or 3 minutes long, right? So the question is, how do we take these 2 or 3 minute YouTube sketches and do anything with them?
Right.
We actually worked with them and they reconfigured their own content because it's comedy. It has a certain timing and they really wanted to have control over that, which I totally understand. Yeah. And they made some fantastic episodes. So I think we have, I don't know, 6 or 8 episodes of their series. And it's like Kids in the Hall. I mean, it's Saturday Night Live, Kids in the Hall with really funny guys that just, for whatever reason, YouTube hasn't taken off for them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting. We'll have to get somebody from our team. Melissa's running the live feed right now, but it'd be great. See if you can, Melissa, tag Dude Perfect on Twitter, and we'll see if we can't get some retweets and get somebody's attention over there.
I mean, they have to have a ton of those episodes, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, these guys have been around for couple of years. I mean, maybe they may already have a strategy for CTV, but if not, we'll get a hold of them. Another category, I guess, that is kind of interesting to me is, these, business entrepreneur startup types that produce and create content on YouTube around, how to do marketing and how to do that kind of thing. Is that, or do those kinds of channels resonate well, or have you had experience with those yet?
So we've talked to a lot of our partners and business comes up quite a bit.
Okay.
I haven't quite figured out, like, we haven't had enough experience with it yet to know kind of which shows work and which ones don't. And
yeah.
Because, like, you and I were sort of discussing before the show, how much does production value really impact, something like that?
Yeah.
We've seen everything from people doing interviews driving in a car, or people doing interviews in a studio, or people doing podcasts in a radio situation where they've got the headphones on and all that. So we've got a ton of that content, and we're going to be coming out of the gate pretty hard pushing that. And just so people understand what our process is, and not to make this like one long infomercial for.
No, that's exactly the question I was going to ask you next, is what does it look like for me to get from A to B? What's the process?
I mean, so the process, you do a deal, you sign an agreement, you get us your content, we create thumbnails and log lines and that sort of thing to promote, so you have a nice presentation on each of these apps.
Right.
And then our sales team goes out and, they get super, super excited because, hey, we have
like just real quick before you go any further. When you say apps, you mean like on my Roku, an app, right? When I go and install the app.
Roku, Apple TV,
right.
Android, make sure that we have the right specs for each one of those devices, and everything looks nice as we go out. And then the sales team goes out, and it's almost like television, the real, sort of network television business, where you go from provider to provider and you pitch the content that you have, and the providers either accept it, say, yeah, we'd love to take your show and give it a test or run it,
right.
or not, and the great thing about us right now is that, we're pretty young, like, we're building out our content more and more, and we're creating a ton of original content. But if you you have a show and you come to us, we still are at the point where we're growing, and our sales team gets excited about new stuff coming in the door. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure I said that the best way, but like if I'm a content creator, which I am, and I have the opportunity to work with people that have a sales team that are stoked to get my stuff in the door and to take it out for a spin, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So there's syndicate. So you syndicate your shows to other channels. Do I need a channel myself? Can you help me understand that and how to navigate that decision? Where does that factor into my strategy? If I'm a creator, does it make sense for me to have a channel? Do I always need one? So help me understand that.
No, it's a good question. So, I mean, it comes down to sort of economics, right? Whether or not you should probably have your own channel. It's like some people just want their own channel. They don't care what it costs, and they don't, they have the money to cover it. It's no big deal, right?
Yeah.
Other people need to kind of know what that breakage point is, where it makes sense for me to have one versus not have one. And I've been told that, generally speaking, it costs about $5,000 a month to run your own channel, and that setting up your channel to begin with is somewhere in the $10,000 to $20,000 range.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So, you'd have to be making some pretty substantial, you'd have to have a pretty substantial audience to justify it.
And there's a pretty big
said,
technical hurdle, right? I mean, you have to build it, right? It's like no different than building an iPhone app or whatever.
Yeah, you either have to build it or you have someone like us that can do it for you.
Right.
We do have a program for people with a large audience. So big publishing companies or big brands, anyone who has sort of a audience that we would believe could be activated to use their Roku channel or their Apple TV channel or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And we actually create those channels for those companies or for those individuals out of our own pocket as part of a revenue share deal. So to kind of take away the risk. Now that's an
zero risk
product, and it's based on a sort of proprietary, technology that Answer Media has, and so that's something that's available. But I mean, like an average size YouTube channel probably not really probably shouldn't be worried about their own channel. I mean, we're learning that a channel really needs to be a true television experience.
Yeah.
You go to a channel and you're able to kind of watch programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and have fresh content on a regular basis, and have this real experience. Well, if you're just one show, or one concept, it's probably not a channel. Yeah.
Well, and the other challenge with the channel piece of it is that you have to activate the channel, right? You have to get people to install the channel and it takes media dollars to make that happen. So definitely another piece of it. What about brands? So, we always around the office and sort of part of our DNA as an agency, in that part of our business is that we feel like brands should be thinking like media companies, especially in today's environment. Help me understand the thought process of if I'm not a creator already, if I don't fit that YouTube creator profile where I'm already creating regular content on YouTube, but I'm a brand, say an e-commerce company or City Barrel Brewing Company that's making beer here in Kansas City. What should I be thinking about or asking my agency about regarding creating original content so that I can get into this space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, like you said, brands really should be thinking like they're content creators or media companies. So what stories can we tell that would impact our audience or our consumer? So coming up with creative ideas that might reach them, or educational programming about beer, like come up with
I'd
ways of
watch that.
educating your audience about that sort of thing.
It's a good idea. We should get on the phone with somebody from City Barrel.
Yeah, Melissa.
Yeah, Melissa. Hey, City Barrel Brewing. Well, this, by the way, if you haven't had this and you live in Kansas City, this, in my professional opinion, is the second best, but maybe not second best. It is one of the two best beers in Kansas City right now. These guys and the guys at BKS are crushing it. But man, Melissa, if we could stock City Barrel's Twitter feed and see if they want to do an educational, that's a killer idea, Eric, an educational series about making beer. We would be all over that. Let's do it.
Melissa, try the lead line of, we believe you're the second best beer in Kansas City.
No, one of the two. One of the two. They're awesome. It's really good. I guarantee you they're buddies with the people at BKS too. And if they don't want to do it, we'll ask BKS.
That works. No, yeah. So, I mean, I think there's like two steps, to any strategy for a brand around this whole space. And this is just my opinion. Create some content, like some sort of series, whether it's educational, whether it's narrative, whether it's just silly. Like, I mean, we thought about some ideas for like a liquor brand where they were just sort of outlandish concepts that they could have adopted.
Yeah.
But create some content and then send it through a syndication group like ours and see how that performs. And if you start getting engagement and users, either let us create a free channel for you and let's, do something on a rev share, or create your own channels and activate an audience that way.
Talk to me about your engagement model. If I want to get into content creation for YouTube or, whatever. Somebody just pinged me on the channel here. My buddy Dieter, a good guy that I ride with. He says he's got a brewery down there that would be interested. So we should talk to him after the show. But
nice.
What was I saying? Oh, your engagement model. So talk to me about that. Like if I want to create content for YouTube or for whatever channel, video's expensive, and it's hard. It takes time. I gotta have a writer and all this stuff. How we as a customer over the last few years have used you guys, and that's ultimately why we ended up doing this deal is a big part of it. Tell me about your engagement model and why it's different and why you guys see video as to do it differently.
Well, I mean, so we consider ourselves to be a content studio, both for content creation and content distribution, right? The word production company kind of has like a negative connotation for us, only in the sense that it reflects kind of your typical brick and mortar, local, I'm not saying local to Kansas City, but local anywhere, company that spends their money on trucks and cameras and lighting equipment and all that stuff. And we've done our best to kind of invest in talent. We've created a network of, north of 1,500 contributors across the country that are editors, directors of photography, producers, photographers, so on and so forth, voiceover artists, UGC contributors. And that's where we've spent our time and energy. And the reason that matters is it helps us keep our costs down. We have no interest in being the sort of bargain basement production solution, but we are able to be less expensive as a result of our choices, that we're not blowing money on stuff that a lot of the freelance talent out there already has. So anyway, our in terms of like helping people create content, we've been able to say to our partners on this on the sort of OTT CTV side and on the other side of our business, hey, we can help you create ongoing programming at a reasonable cost. You know, in some cases, we'll produce it as Space Mob originals. In some cases, we'll just help, you know, provide discounted services.
Nice. Well, one of the things you said to me early on, which I completely agree with, is that you know, as a brand or whatever, you don't need a video. You need a video strategy, right? Like one video probably isn't going to do much good, but if you commit to video and build a process for making video regularly, then that's going to get you where you want to go. So I always thought that made a lot more sense than having, you know, I'd rather have one rather than having one, you know, $30,000 video. I'd rather have, you know, 10 smaller videos that, you know, over time accomplish a goal.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, that's exactly our strategy.
Well, man, what did I miss? This has been a great conversation. Where can people find out about Space Mob and learn more about what you guys do and how to get rolling?
Yeah, so we're going through sort of a website redesign, but our current website has a little bit of information under the distribution tab, and that's www.space-mob.com. And that's probably the best place, or send me an email, and it's eric@space-mob.com.
Cool. Well, let's check real quick and see. Our Twitter here is blowing up. My buddy Dieter down there is all over this beer idea. I won't name the name of the brewery that he wants to work with here, but I'm gonna ping him right after the show. Awesome. Let's see, what questions do we have? Oh, so one question here from the audience just says, I don't understand the specs for CTV. Won't it take me a long time to reformat all my existing content? I think you hit on that a little bit earlier, but can you help, you know, maybe just bring some color to that? What do I need to know about the specs and all the different, you know, requirements for CTV to get started, or do I?
I mean, you don't need to know anything. I don't know. Like, if you were to ask me, okay, what format do we need to have the Roku? Like, our team knows and does that. So
yeah,
they've got it covered. So we don't have to know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome, man. Well, that was a great interview. I can't think of a better way to spend a 3 o'clock happy hour on Friday in quarantine.
Thanks
than
for
with
taking
you,
the
man.
time. It's been fun.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, Eric Keith, Space Mob Studio, space-mob.com. And if you are a YouTube creator, a short filmmaker, comedian, or the CMO of Dude Perfect, or if you run a brewery, we are going to come after you and have a conversation with you about activating your audience on CTV. You ready? All right. Take care, Eric, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
See ya.